Hi, everyone. Based on your answers to the weekly assignment this week for the human relations and human resources, I've noticed that there are some clear misunderstandings about these two approaches, how they differ from one another and how they differ from the classical approach. So I wanted to clarify some of those things to make sure that we're all moving forward on the right step. I thought I clarified these things in the video that I created about the human relations and human resources approaches as they apply to the fashion industry. I'll be repeating many of the things that I said there, but it seems like these things need repeating and clarification just because of the answers that I was getting on those short answer questions. I haven't graded them all, so this doesn't apply to everybody, but it does apply to the first dozen or so folks who submitted, who are consistently kind of making similar mistakes. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was the Hawthorne effect. The next thing I want to talk about is the underlying beliefs and the actual behaviors of the human relations approach. And then finally, I want to talk about the underlying beliefs and actual behaviors of the human resources approach. The underlying beliefs being really the core difference between the human relations and human resources approaches. Okay, so when we're talking about the Hawthorne effect, what researchers were looking for was really ways to get people to be more productive. So perhaps if we do some experiments with these people, right, give them more lighting, give them less lighting, we'll find out what gets them to produce more to, make us more profitable. So what they found was when they separated out people and studied them, no matter what they did, these people were more productive. When they raised the lights to be very bright, they were more productive. When they dimmed the lights to be pretty dark, they were more productive. What? Right? It didn't matter what they did. It didn't matter where they put them. The moment that they were studying these people, they became more productive. And so their conclusion was, okay, so it's not actually treating people well by improving workplace kind of environments that's going to make people more productive. What's going to make people more productive is paying attention to them, separating them out, saying, we're going to observe you, we're going to pay attention to you, and that's what's going to make people more productive. That was their conclusion. And that is the conclusion that the entire human relations approach is founded on. People need to be paid attention to. So when we're talking about some kind of more specific aspects of the human relations approach, Maslow's hierarchy of needs comes in and says, people aren't machines. They're not cogs. They do have complicated needs, right? They have multiple layers and levels of needs. So yes, we need to fulfill their basic needs for like food and shelter, which, we can accomplish by giving them a decent salary, but they also have more complex needs and more social needs, right? They need to be treated like human beings in that they need to have conversations with people. They need to think that they're important. They need to think that we care about them. They need to believe that we care about them. Notice the difference here between we need to care about them and we need them to believe that we care about them. That's going to be the central difference between the human relations and the human resources approach. Now, when we're talking about the human relations approach, what they're trying to do is get people to feel that their needs are satisfied so that they will produce, so that they will be more productive, so that the company can be more profitable. So people have complex needs. We need to kind of figure out a way to meet those needs so that they can produce more for us. Or when we're looking at theory X and theory Y, right? Well, if we treat people like they're independent, we give them some sense of autonomy, some sense of ownership, then they'll feel more fulfilled and therefore they will produce more. That's human relations. If we make people feel good, if we make people feel cared for, if we make people feel like we're paying attention to them, then they're going to bring in more profit and we will be more successful. And when I say we, I mean kind of like the managers, the executives, the higher ups in the organization. So the human relations approach is really about making employees feel important, making employees feel heard. It does not mean actually hearing employees. The human relations approach is not interested in actually caring about the employees. So what we have here is a kind of mismatch between the beliefs about employees and how we actually treat those employees, because we don't actually believe that employees are anything more than just a cog in the machine, but we know that they function as better, more effective cogs if we don't treat them like they're cogs. So we're going to treat them like they're people, even though we don't actually believe that they're people. And so here is the major criticism that human resources came in with. So if you really read the descriptions of managers, applying theory X and theory Y, if you have a manager who truly believes in theory Y, you really probably have a human resources manager. But if you've got a human relations manager, what they're going to do is behave in ways that look like theory Y while actually believing in theory X. So a human resources manager actually believes in theory Y and actually believes that humans are the resource, right? We need to be tapping into this resource. This is actually what's important. So the human resources approach sees humans as valuable as productivity, as profit. So productivity and profit are equally important to the people accomplishing that productivity and profit. Human relations doesn't believe that. Human relations thinks productivity and profit is most important. The way to achieve that is to make people feel like they're important. So we're going to make them feel good so that they'll produce. The human resources approach says, no. Humans actually are as important as productivity. So we're going to treat them that way genuinely. We're actually going to treat them like they're as important as productivity. We're actually going to give them a lot of leeway. We're going to kind of provide them with some mentorship, with some direction, right? Provide them with some sort of moderate structure, but not too much structure, because we don't want to constrict them so much that their creativity can't kind of take them where they want to take it. If you work for an organization where your boss says, here's what I want you to accomplish, you can do it in any way that you want. All right. I don't care. Right. Here's some resources. Here's everything you could need. If you need more, ask and I'll give it to you. Right. I might have to make some requests, but we'll work it out and just accomplish this. You've got a human resources approach going on. If you've got a manager who comes to you and says, hey, I know that you can do it. You're so good at this stuff. I'm going to give you some resources. Here's $20 and a ream of paper. I'm sure you're going to do so great. Come talk to me when you have any issues, and I'm glad to talk them through with you. Go get them, Tiger. I love you. Now you've got a human relations approach. They pretend like they care about you. They are giving you lip service to make you feel good so that you'll accomplish their goals. Human resources is not giving lip service. It truly believes in its employees. That's why when in my PowerPoint slides, I say that an example of the human relations approach in real life is human resources departments, because human resources departments are designed to protect the organization. They're not designed to actually help the employees. If you make complaints to a human resources department, that's going to count as a ding against you. right? And if you make too many complaints to the human resources department because your boss is a horrible person who's sexually harassing everybody in their department, you're the one going to get fired, right? Not the boss who's sexually harassing people. That's how human resources departments typically work. So human resources departments are there to make you feel like they care about you. They say, oh, we have these benefits for you. We're going to give you, right, lovely health insurance. And we're going to make sure that you have a place to vent your feelings when you are unhappy with your work environment. But at the end of the day, if you voice those feelings too often, you're going to get fired. That's typically what human resource departments look like. And that's why human resource departments are really just an example of human relations. If human resource departments say, right, you come to us, you say whatever you want to say, it can be completely anonymous, and we promise that every time a complaint is made, it actually gets taken seriously, and they actually take every complaint seriously, then you have actual human resources at play. And so that's really the difference between the human relations and the human resources. In the human relations, it's lip service. They're just pretending to care because they think that's going to make you more productive. In human resources, they actually do care. They really do believe that caring about the people makes them more productive. And we care about both the people and productivity. They're equally important. So I hope this has clarified the difference between human relations and human resources. Human relations really still has a lot in common with the kind of more traditional approaches, right? The classical approach, whereas human resources is much more kind of caring about people and assuming that people are really going to be the key to the success of an organization. That's why coming from the documentary, People Tree is an excellent example of human resources, where instead of saying, well, we want to design this collection and we want to create these beautiful garments. Okay, and now we're going to find people who are going to be able to do that, right? Human relations would say, okay, let's find some people. Let's tell them they're so smart. Let's tell them what to do. And let's kind of pat them on the back and say, good job, kiddos. Whereas human resources says, okay, no, we're not even going to go in that order. We're going to start with the people. We're going to say, what can our people do? What are they capable of? What expertise do they bring? What skills do they have? And we're going to design our collection based on the people that we have, right? Based on that resource of excellent knowledge and skill that we have. People Tree is the quintessential example of human resources, where they start from their resource of people, and then they do the work from there. Whereas more traditional, classical approaches say, here's the work we need done, here are the people who are going to do it, we're going to treat them like crap, we're going to treat them like machines, and they're going to churn out the work. Human relations is kind of that step in between, where we start with the idea, we're going to tell the people what to do, but we're going to try to be nice to them, right? We're going to try to not treat them like they're machines, because it turns out that people are more complicated than machines, so we're going to try to be nice to them when we ask them to do the work. And, when they say they're having a hard time, we're going to say, oh, do you need more lights? Do you need some water breaks? I really care about you. I want you to be successful, because when you're successful, we're successful, right? And then people go, oh, they care about me. And then they go back to work and you say, great job, accomplished our goals. That's human relations, right? It's halfway in between. Human resources actually cares. Human relations pretends to care. Classical approach doesn't care one bit about the people, just productivity. That's really the distinction between the three approaches we've covered so far. I hope this has clarified some things. I hope that the distinction between all of these approaches is a little bit more clear. Please feel free to ask questions if you have any.